Hope you're having a great show. We've got a really stacked day today. We've got Kyle Wright with the Braves. Kyle, thank you for being here. Later, we've got Josh Young with the Rangers, and then Sandy Alcantara this afternoon. I'm going to ask Kyle a bunch of questions. As I said yesterday, if you guys have any questions for Kyle, please ask one of our Rapsodo employees in the booth, and they'll relay those questions to me. But let's get going. Kyle, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Least favorite batter to face?
There's a lot. Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, a lot of those, the big left-handed hitters, those guys give me some trouble, so I'll stay with those two for now.
Favorite batter to face?
That's kind of a...
Favorite at bat you've had in the MLB?
That's also tough. Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite at bat in particular.
What do you do outside of baseball?
I'm a big golfer, so if I'm not doing baseball, I'm probably golfing. Play video games too. Those are kind of the two things. That's about all I do.
Shameless plug for everybody here. We do have a golf side of the Rapsodo business. Any questions about that MLM, feel free to ask any of our employees. What's the off-season look like for you? What are you doing right now, ramping up, getting ready for spring training?
Yeah, working out at Vanderbilt. We have a great setup there. A lot of guys come in, pro guys work out, so good environment. That's what I do Monday through Friday. Go in, play catch, work out, and just starting to ramp up, get ready for the season.
Awesome. We'll talk more about that Vandy connection. Who's your favorite professional athlete?
There's a lot of good ones. I'm going to go off topic because I played high school with him. Nobody knows who he is, but his name's Kyle Wright. He's a fullback for the Chicago Bears. We went to high school together, went to college together, so cool connection for me. Like I said, may not know who he is, but that's my guy.
So big Bears fan.
For him, yes, for him.
Spirit animal?
Spirit animal? I don't know. I got a little French bulldog, so that's what I'm going to say.
All right, we'll make sure to put that on our Twitter feed.
Yeah.
So we're in Nashville, you went to Vandy. What are some of the best spots in town to hit for all the people that are visiting from out of town?
Good steakhouse, Cane Prime. That's kind of me and my wife's staple. Sushi is Virago, also downtown. Those are kind of two good spots. There's also Oscar's Taco Shop, good lunch place. So I'd definitely check those out.
All right. Let's get into some baseball questions. Obviously, you're the first Braves pitcher to reach 20 wins since 2003. Congratulations, that's awesome. What led to your success this past season?
I think getting back to who I am as a pitcher, which for me that's sinker, curveball, and then mixing the changeup and the cutter. Years past, I kind of got lost to who I was. So for me, getting back to that, using my strengths, attacking the strike zone, just made pitching and the game come a lot easier. The more you're in the strike zone, the more success you'll have.
For the coaches here, that may have players or even themselves, kind of go through those ruts, what would be some advice that you give to these guys?
For me, it was you're never as far as you think you are from success. I was at the lowest of low in my career, and I was wondering what happened. And then we kind of hit the reset button, and sure enough, within a couple weeks, I felt like I was back to myself. So for me, it looked like success was so far away, but really it was a couple tweaks, and next thing I know, I was pitching very well in AAA, and then I got a chance to pitch in the World Series and had success, and then carried on to this past year. So I think that's the big thing, is you're never as far as you think you are.
Right on. You grew up a Braves fan, right? You're having this success. How much does that mean to you? Not only having kind of your childhood dream, but how you're living it.
It's special. Getting to put that uniform on every day. Just it feels a little bit different for me personally. Me and my brothers, dad, we used to always watch games and go to games. So getting to wear the same uniform and play at the place. Guys like John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, and Chipper Jones. It's really cool.
Talk about Tech a lot. Obviously, Rapsodo is a tech company. Just so everybody knows, Kyle is one of our first pro staff guys. He pitching 1.0, pitching 2.0, and now he's throwing on our pro 3.0, which is in the cage with us here. Let's talk about that tech. In terms of, let's start with video.
Yeah.
Right? How do you utilize video? I know it's a big thing. People are trying to adapt to the changing landscape of that. How do you utilize it both in the off season, after you pitch, while you're pitching? What does that look like for you?
So I'm personally, I'm not a huge video guy. I still use it. A lot of times now we have the tablets in game, so I'll end up using video more in game just to kind of see where I'm at, how I'm moving. Sometimes if I thought a pitch was a strike, but really it was a ball, that kind of helps me settle down as a pitcher. just so I like that more. I don't use it a ton before and after. For me, I like the numbers more. I'm more of a analytics guy, just so I can understand how my pitches are moving and how they're profiling. And then for me, it's a little bit easier to make tweaks. There's always a good time to use video when you're trying to find those, but for me, sometimes less is more when it comes to video.
Talk about the Rapsodo a little bit. Obviously implementing it into your off season, even in season now. You're kind of ahead of the curve of where other players are kind of catching up. How do you utilize it for your player development?
It's a really big tool, just because you can where you're at all times. For me, if my sinker's starting to carry a little bit too much, and I want to try to work on getting it to get more of that sinker action, or my curveball isn't sweeping as much as I'd like, you have the numbers right there. It can tell you exactly how that pitch is profiling, and I have the numbers in my head to where I want to be for my sinker, my curveball, and then I can start to, play with my grip a little bit, mechanics, how I want to get that pitch to move, and I think it's a really important tool to have in any offseason.
You used it at Vandy and you use it now. Have you changed how you use it at all from college to the big leagues?
I think definitely. For me, I think now I use more of the metrics and the spin efficiency because I understand those numbers more. At college, when this was all so new and we didn't really understand data and how pitches moved and the metrics that well, just because it was all so new. Now that I understand how to read those numbers and how to apply them to me and who I am as a pitcher, that's kind of slowly taken over more and more from what I used in college.
The new Pro 3.0, just so everybody knows, has team shifted weight, seam orientation. A lot of the pro guys I work with, a lot of the MLB teams we work with, that's a big deal. What's your favorite thing that you use Rapsodo for? I know we talked earlier about kind of pitch tunneling and kind of seeing where those are going.
Yeah, so again, metrics and you say the seam shift and wake. I'm actually really excited about that because that's how I throw my sinker. And there's really no tool for that, right? So to be able to see how that is going to help impact guys who do that, I guess like for me, an example is I'm different than say a Spencer Strider. Spencer Strider is really good at staying behind the baseball and carrying it, whereas I don't get on top of the baseball really well. So for me to have a metric where I can see how well I'm getting inside the ball, how I'm catching that spin to make that sinker come back, is going to be a really good tool for me.
Let's get into your pitch arsenal a little bit. Obviously, you're super successful with more pitches. Get a lot of ground balls. Talk about your pitch selection on getting those ground balls and why it's so important.
For me, I rely on the sinker. That's kind of my main ground ball pitch. And actually get a decent amount of ground balls in my curveball too because I started to throw it harder. But I know sometimes when my curveball starts to get a little too vertical, that's when I don't get as many ground balls. So for me, when I want to get that a little bit more sweep back so I can catch more into the bats and get the ball on the ground, get guys out front a little bit more. But those are kind of my two pitches that I've had a lot of success with getting ground balls.
Fastball-wise, I believe you switched from a four-seam to a two-seam, correct?
Yeah.
What in the data, what did you find that made that more successful for you?
So one, my four-seam just didn't move well at all. Metrically, it's well below average. My four-seam, it's in the 130. I'm in the dead zone. Four-seam-wise, I don't carry it great, and it still runs a lot. So it's almost kind of a two-seamer anyways. And I've always had a good ability to be able to sink the ball and move the ball. So that's when we started looking at the numbers and seeing, hey, your two seam's playing really well. That was kind of when we started to make the shift to using the sinker. I still use the four seam. It's still an effective pitch for me, but the more I've learned that I need to use my sinker way more than my four seam.
For a lot of the coaches here, Kyle and I talked about before this, what makes you so successful and what you really picked up on attacking the zone.
Yeah.
You heard Mitch say yesterday, you brought it up. Talk about that for these coaches and why that's so important, not only for the younger age, but how you're even doing it now in the big leagues.
Yeah, I think as you go up, it's even more important to attack the strike zone than lower, just because guys, they start to zone you up, and if you get in a disadvantage count and you have to come to them, that's when you really get beat. So I think sometimes we try to be way too fine, and that was a big thing that I was bad at, was trying to be way too fine. Next thing I know, I'm in those disadvantage counts of 2-0, 3-1. Now I got to make a pitch, and it's either I walk the guy or I got to make him put it in play. So the more I've attacked the strike zone and just trust my stuff within the strike zone has then allowed me to get guys to chase a lot more and get more outs actually within the strike zone too.
Talk about your slider and cutter and what you look for in terms of like Rapsodo data we provide, spin efficiency. What are you looking for, leading up to each run?
Yeah, so my cutter is, like I said, I call it a cutter. It's kind of a slider. It's in between, but for me, the big thing, I just want it to be as different from my sinker as possible. So the closer I can get that to, 0 horizontal movement, the better. If I can get it into the negatives, then that's a big plus. But if I'm getting, 16 to, I could probably get up to 20 horizontal with my sinker. If I can get my cutter to be 90 at, let's say anywhere from +2 to -2 cutter-wise, that's a big pitch for me, and it's going to play. So that's kind of what I look for, is just making it as different as possible for my sinker as I can.
You throw your fastball 20% of the time, your slider 7% of the time, your sinker 24% of the time, curveball 35% of the time, and your changeup 15% of the time. Has that changed over the course of your career? Is there something you're working on this year that you're working towards for the 2023 season?
I think one, my curveball, and just using that, picking up that usage a lot more. One, I just have a really good feel with it. I always have. I have the same grip that I had in high school that I started working with my dad on, and so I've just got really good feel for it. So for me, it's a pitch I feel just as comfortable throwing for a 3-0 strike as I would a fastball. And it's a good pitch. It breaks well. It's hard, and I get good results with it. So for me, just being able to throw that pitch more. And a big pitch I started to work on towards the end of the year, and it was really coming along good, was my changeup. So that's a pitch that I want to continue to use more and be able to use in those same counts that I'd use my curveball, just to put a little bit more doubt in the hitter's mind as to, what's coming. Is it fastball, curveball, changeup? And, the less a hitter can zone in on a certain pitch, the harder it is, obviously.
Let's get into coaching a little bit, your time at Vandy. Talk about that coaching staff, things you learned there. Obviously, Vanderbilt, super, they use a lot of our technology, and it shows that you taking that on in the big leagues. Talk about your time at Vandy and how important that was for you in your development.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Coach Corbin and Coach Brown. Coach Brown, my pitching coach, I learned a ton from him. He's one of the best in baseball at any level. And I still talk to him today about, things that I may not be doing that he'll, kind of get on me, say, hey, let's go, time to throw your curveball a little bit more, stuff like that. But Brownie knows so much. He's really good with the mechanics, the analytics, mentality. So, like I said, I can't say enough good things about him. And, there's a reason that they're always at the top.
Anything that you learned there, that you can give advice to these coaches, getting players recruited to colleges, drafted to the MLB, even from MILB to MLB, what are some tips you can give these guys?
So a big thing that I got from Coach Brown, it was really easy for me to listen to him, is because he was anti-cookie cutter. He looked at each one of us as a pitcher as, this is how you move, this is how you throw, this is how you pitch. And each one of us was different. He tried to really tailor how he coached us and his programs to how we pitched. And for me, that is probably the number one thing, the biggest thing that you can do as a player. I think as long as you can I think me and Brownie, we always could have a conversation, and it would be, he would tell me something, I'd say, I don't think this is there, I don't like this, and it's like, okay, let's try something else. That doesn't mean Brownie can't say, Kyle, that's stupid, I'm not going to do that. But I think being able to have that conversation then allows you to kind of grow as a pitcher, as a player, and I think it's important to have the conversation.
What's your armchair program like?
It's pretty.
Outside the season.
I do a lot. For me personally, in the off season, I hire a physical therapist, so I go to him twice a week, and we do different exercises. I try to. Right now, I'm attacking my shoulder a lot, trying to stabilize that better. So it's a lot of different exercises that he kind of leads me and puts me through, and we've had some good results so far.
Being at Vanderbilt, it's a powerhouse program. Everybody knows that. I think there's a conception out there that it's the money and the resources they have and how they're able to bring the best players. From your opinion, what makes Vanderbilt so successful? Why has it been successful for so long? What do you think's going on over there that could maybe help the coaches out here?
It's the culture. Coach Corbin, that's his big thing. He set the culture, he set the standard, and I think guys do a really good job of buying in. So part of that is you gotta get good kids, gotta get good players, but understanding that the culture comes first. It's team, as I said, it's team over me is a big deal. So that's that's one thing that Coach Corbin does an excellent job. A lot of things we learn is not even about baseball, it's about life. I think that's really important too. That helps you more on the field than you would think. Just because you learn to handle adversity a little bit better. Mentally, you get a little bit mentally tougher just from all these different conversations and things we've had. So, but I think the number one is just he gets the culture right and guys buy into it.
What are your 2023 goals?
Hopefully be better than I was last year. I had a really good year last year, but I still feel like there's a lot of things that I could have done better. I still feel like there were some games that I let get away from me that I wish I could have finished better. So there's a lot I left on the table. So just want to try to continue to be more consistent and capitalize on each inning, each game, and hopefully be better than I was last year.
Well, listen, Kyle, thank you for being here today. Like I said, we got one question. Least favorite high school team to pitch against?
Least favorite high school team?
Out there that saw you play high school.
Let's see. I think my senior year of high school I had a rough one against Hoover High School, so I'll say Hoover. I remember giving up a couple home runs that game, I think.
All right. Well, hey, listen, Kyle, again, thank you guys for being out here. We've got a great lineup today of pro guys speaking. We've also got some demos going on the page. Kyle's got to run and get to another meeting, so please, he's not signing any autographs or taking pictures. Like I said, we've got Josh Young later today, Sandy Alcantara later this evening. Let's give it up for Kyle Wright. Kyle, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.